Ted Langdell, Bob Harlan here. He is my guest on the new show that we have coming up here on Wednesday. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and that is Yuba-Sutter.Live's new show called Lunch with Langdell. So we're going to be down here at the Yuba-Sutter United Way on 4th Street in Marysville, talking to Bob about a variety of things. We'll get the inside scoop. That's this coming Wednesday, right here on Yuba-Sutter.Live. And So Bob's going to tell us a bit more about some of the neat things that the Yuba-Sutter-Colusa United Way has been up to. In fact, I think I heard $400,000.
Yeah, just about.
Don't tell anybody what it is that you did yet.
It's something we do on a regular basis.
Okay, so this is cool, and we're going to be right down here. So please join us on Wednesday, but then also make sure that you are with us all day Tuesday, or different parts of Tuesday, because we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up, and that includes these fine programs. So that is all coming up this week, not next week. That's this week right here on your, well, I don't know, what would we call this? It's Yuba-Sutter's version of C-SPAN, basically. And that is Yuba-Sutter.Live, right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Yuba-Sutter.Live. I'm Ted Langdell. Yuba-Sutter.Live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Ted Langdell, Bob Harlan here. He is my guest on the new show that we have coming up here on Wednesday. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and that is Yuba-Sutter.Live's new show called Lunch with Langdell. So we're going to be down here at the Yuba-Sutter United Way on 4th Street in Marysville, talking to Bob about a variety of things. We'll get the inside scoop. That's this coming Wednesday, right here on Yuba-Sutter.Live. And So Bob's going to tell us a bit more about some of the neat things that the Yuba-Sutter-Colusa United Way has been up to. In fact, I think I heard $400,000.
Yeah, just about.
Don't tell anybody what it is that you did
it's
yet.
something we do on a regular basis.
Okay, so this is cool, and we're going to be right down here. So please join us on Wednesday, but then also make sure that you are.
Thank you. There was 2 items agreed upon in closed session. The disciplinary actions for expulsions for EH 21-2236, EH 21-22/41, and 42 were approved as approved by the staff recommendations. We have 1 suspended expulsion for EH 21-22/45, and that also was approved by the board. So now we have comments from board members. Mr. Boone? Frank? Doug Criddle? Ms. Hasty.
I am so pleased with the changes that are happening in our community, in our district specifically, and I'm looking forward to the presentations this evening.
Thank you. Gary? Randy?
No comments?
Now we have comments from the site student representations from either Marysville High School, Linda High School, MCAA. Are any of those present? Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Jariah Lott. Good evening, everyone. So at MHS, we are in our 2nd week of March Madness. It has been amazing seeing the participation, not only from our students, but as well as our staff. Shout out to Mrs. Eggleston and Mrs. Holly. Our hope this week is that we will increase more school spirit. With such a wide variety of dress-up days, each student is guaranteed at least to dress up for 1 day. Last Saturday, our track team has competed at the Sac State Classic. Our men's 4x1 relay team placed 3rd out of 21 teams, which is really good. Congratulations to Kyron Mills, Chris Bridgers, Jonas Cherry, and Landon Parks. Savannah Edwards finished 3rd out of 19 in discus, moving up 3rd for the all-time MHS record, which is really good. With breaking his personal record, Jonas Cherry also moved up 5th for the 110-meter hurdles in the MHS record. Today, our FFA group attended a science field trip to the Country Butcher, La Saga Cattle Ranch, and Hillcrest Dairy Farm. I guess you can say they are getting some fine education. Getting closer to the end of the month, we have our annual Girls Ask Guys Sadie Hawkins dance. So if any of you lovely board members would like to join us and get jiggy with us on the dance floor, we would love to have you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we have recognitions.
No, we might have Linda High School, that's MCAA.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, MCAA.
And Linda's.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Urbina, and I'm the ASB president at MCAA. To recap on all the amazing events that we've had so far, we've had our amazing performance by our beginning drama of Junie B. Jones. It went very great, very smoothly. I know we invited some of you guys, your board members. Thank you for attending if you did. We also have been doing a lot of positivity weeks at our school, putting sticky notes on students' lockers with positive messages. And honestly, it really helps bring our school spirit higher and higher. We also got our new principal, Mr. Lohman, who has done an amazing job and has already become so involved with our school. We have some upcoming events, like we have a multicultural fair that's planned, that's coming this April, as well as our Sadie Hawkins dance, which is April 8th. We have a carnival also this April to, make everything fun. We invite the community to that as well. We also invite you guys to our Freaky Friday performance, which is April 28th through the 30th. It will be in the Marysville South Auditorium. Hope to see you guys there. We also invite you to our school's band concert this Thursday and Music in Our Schools, which is next Wednesday. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'll be sure to answer them. I'll be sitting right over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Lyndhurst.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jasmine Acosta from Lyndhurst High School. At Lyndhurst High School, we strive to make school as fun and memorable for our students. This last Friday, our clubs FFA, and ROTC did a fundraising football game. This week is our BMAs, which is our Blazer Multi-Award ceremony. Our ceremony will be this Friday, March 11th, and you are all welcome to come, and please, we would really appreciate it. You're all invited. There was an invitation emailed out, and if you would like a hard copy, please let us know. We will be sure to give you that. We have a dress-up days this week, and so far they're going very, very well. We are also planning our Sadie's dance, which should be April 8th, with our sophomore class planning that. We really appreciate if you would like to come to our school at any time, whether that's just random time to visit us or any events such as lunchtime activities or just any time. We would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have recognitions. Dr. Ashrani.
I'd like to invite Director Ms. Amy Stratton to do the honors for us today. Amy, do you want us to come down there?
Please. We have a lot of students tonight to recognize. Good evening, trustees, Dr. Ashrani, members of cabinet, members of the audience. Tonight, we're going to recognize a lot of our music students here in our district. Yeah. Later this evening, you're going to see a presentation from our music directors where we're going to celebrate music in our schools this month, but we actually have a different celebration this month. This is honor band season. Marysville is part of the California Music Educators Association North Section, which covers 15 counties, so basically here all the way to the border. And this organization pulls together representation of all the different schools. They send in tapes, they have collaborations, they have conversations. They try to find the best of the best students to bring together to have a concert. So on March 19th, the intermediate schools will be in Chico State at the Harlan Adam Theater, and we'll have an honor choir and an honor band. And we have students that will represent from Yuba Gardens in both events. And then the following weekend, on March 26th, is honor band for the high school, and we have students from both Lyndhurst and Marysville Charter Academy. And so this is a very exciting time, but also very prestigious. It's hard to get in. Not everybody gets in. It's very competitive, and the students have to be playing of quality musicianship. in order to participate in this. So the fact that we have so many students participating just shows what a great job our music educators are doing. So tonight I'm going to invite Mrs. Stewart first. She's going to come up and introduce her choir kids, her band kids, followed by Mr. Harmon from the Academy and Mrs. Garcia from Olivehurst.
Thank you all so much for this recognition. And I would just like to say really quickly that for the past 6 years, we have had the record of choir members from all counties represented in the northern section. So thank you, choir, for working so hard. First up, we have Hannah Sipe. Yay! Haley Bergeron. Lily Goose Haney. Galilea Jimenez. Abigail Ditchick. Sophie Gonzalez Mendoza. Brenda Gonzalez Cruz. Jimena Govea Cortez. Summer Miller. Linda Powell. Christian Sanchez. Felipe Gutierrez. Caitlin Bunch. Camilla Gamez. Estrella Gonzalez. Fatima Hernandez Ortiz. Shayna Archer. Kamani McFarland. Araceli Rodriguez. I'm sorry. Teasha Harris. Sophia Torres. And Haley Burbank. Choir, got everybody? Okay. Okay. And moving on to Honor Band, this is, again, a record for, a school-wide record for how many students that Yuba Gardens has ever sent to this ensemble. Starting off with Mina Yang. Jessica Sonato Laika. Vincent Gamboa. Kenneth Yang. Tyrone St. Romain. Kyrie Pambrin. Fatima Reyes. Joel Gonzalez. Dominic Cantu. Ivan Villa. Brisa Nunez Balandron. And last but certainly not least, Emiliano Zermeno.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Hello, louder.
You can take your mask off.
I might be doing a picture. Everybody? Let's let Yuba Gardens see.
Yuba Gardens first.
Get up there, Becky. Get up there, Becky.
Go direct them, Becky. They want
Tell them what to do.
Hey, choir. Hey, band. Up here for a picture, please. Thank you. Sweaty. Oh, I'll put my sweatshirt on.
You gonna get in there too? Yeah. It's always fun to be like, where's this?
Okay, good evening. I'm the MCA band director, Anthony Harmon, and we have 6 students from the Charter Academy that are going to the high school honor band, and they are as follows. Janan here. Eamon Martin. Mauricio Marquez. Zachariah Marler. Jessica Guzman. And Reagan Hannon.
Don't forget your pictures.
Mauricio, picture please.
Okay. All right, 1, 2, 3. Let's get a few more. Okay. Thank you. And then anybody else?
All right, and last but not least, I am Mrs. Garcia, and I am representing the band kids this evening from Lyndhurst High School, who we are also sending, to the North Section Honor Band. So I do know that a few of these guys are absent, but first off, we'd like to recognize Ignacio Barriga. Owen Bun Pallone. Lisbeth Guevara Duenas. Caleb Manley. This is practice for graduation, you guys. Damian Mason. Damian Murray. And Gavin Pambron. Don't run away. Yep. Up on the stage. Okay, before we move on to CTE, I have one more recognition I'd like to make. When it comes to selecting the conductor for an organization like a honor band, it is typical that it is a college professor or a professional conductor. It's very rare that a school, a high school or a middle school director is asked to conduct an honor band unless they're very revered by their peers. And I'm proud to say that Rebecca Stewart is going to be the conductor of the at the intermediate honor choir in Chico on the 10th. It's a great honor. So we have one more set of recognition. So tonight we're also going to recognize the work of the multimedia class at Lyndhurst High School. These students have done a lot in production. They're working with Dr. Ashrani and doing a lot of communication with the community through their multimedia network. And so tonight we're going to have Mr. Spangler introduce his students. Thank you.
Good evening. First, I want to thank Mr. Eckert for all the support, and obviously all of you board members always coming out and helping and interviewing some of you already, and hopefully all of you soon. I've had a pleasure working with these students. First, Nicholas Sanchez. Adeline Garcia. May Riso. I guess I have to slow down. Johnny Patton. Celeste Fernandez. Jasmine Miranda. Guys, right back here. Nicholas. Nicholas. Stay here.
So I want to give you guys just a little bit of background to this particular pathway. We've got multiple pathways at Olivehurst High School and at Marysville High School. This particular one is designed to get students who have an interest in technology, broadcasting, journalism, editing skills. And what we've been able to do over the last several years with the support of the board, various district members, Jamie Larson with all of her grants, and now continuing with, Dr. Rocco Greco and all his support, and Ms. Stratton, and of course, Dr. Ashrani, we have a live studio in which this year you're starting to see, or you will start to see, the end product of that, which is a complete student run, student edited, student put together format. It is just like a production studio, and these students, once they have started to develop these skills, then they can go out into their next career, and it might be in that same field, whether it be in print media, video media, or just in that general pathway itself. We're really, really proud of it. We thank you so much for the support, and Mr. Spangler, there's no way we're making this happen without you, so thank you very much.
Take your families home now if you like. Thank you. They have school tomorrow.
Some friends of ours. Okay, we're going to move on. We have opportunity for employee organizations to address the board. Marysville Joint Unified Teachers Association.
Sorry, I was just getting quite the giggle out of the fact that we were talking about the students having school tomorrow. We're like, wait, we have school tomorrow, they don't. We're like, what a ripoff. So, yeah, it was a nice thought though for a second, till it reminded us that we have to go and they don't. So, Angela Stiegel, I'm president for the Marysville Unified Teachers Association. And for the comments for the teachers union this evening, we are going to start off on a bit of a serious note, then we are going to get into some happy thoughts, and then leave you guys with kind of a message in regards to the bargaining session we had today. First off, as far as starting off on the serious note, we would just like to let everybody know that our thoughts and prayers are with the people in Ukraine as they fight for their independence, for their democracy, and for their very survival. As far as the many celebrations that we have going on, we have a lot of congratulations to give out this evening, and we did this the last time as well. We started off with a lot of good thoughts and a lot of positive thoughts, and so we're very glad to see that we have a whole lot more of those to give this evening. We would like to start off with the fact that congratulations to all 3 of our school site representatives this evening. This harkens back to some of our past days where we would have our site reps, our student reps come in, and so the ability to see all 3 of them tonight, they all did an amazing job. I have said before that getting up here myself, I know it's not the easiest thing, and so for 3 of our amazing high school students to do that, kudos to them, and they did an amazing job. Also, especially considering I was one of those band kids in school, I definitely want to go back a few years and think about those days. But I really want to reach out and give a big, hearty congratulations to our music programs. We have been blessed in decades past with having an amazing music program here. And then as we suffered through a number of downturns with the economy, our music programs kind of took the brunt of that. And then our district, to their credit, as things improved, put music programs back as a priority. And our music educators and our students involved in our music programs have really brought those programs back to life. And to do so in the midst of a pandemic was absolutely mind-blowing. And so we wanted to make sure that we congratulate all of our music educators and their students this evening. And also a big shout out to Becky Stewart. That is an amazing honor. Additionally, we saw Mr. Spangler up here with his multimedia group. That is a phenomenal program. And Troy does a lot of work there as well, like our music teachers, a lot of hours outside of the classroom prepping for that and making that program amazing for the students involved, along with our music students. So congratulations to Troy and his team of students there as well. In general, we also just want to give a big shout out to all of our teachers and their students who make our extracurricular and our co-curricular programs the successes that they are. To go above and beyond is really something, and especially when we have transportation issues and we have issues even with finding facilities sometimes, and we have issues sometimes with finding people who, will take on that extra job, and we have students who are oftentimes really over-obligated in their time, and they take on 2, 3, 4 extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Big shout out to them, because I think part of the uniqueness of our district is the fact that despite the fact that some think of us as kind of a more medium-sized or even kind of smaller district, a smaller community, we have immense extracurricular and co-curricular offerings for our students. Also, to shift gears a little bit, as far as kind of a bargaining report, we had bargaining today with the district. And so in general terms, I think I would call it kind of a mixed bag. I will say that the conversation is still collaborative, it is still collegial, it is still positive, it is two-way communication, which is always good when you're at the bargaining table, to be able to speak and listen to each other. We did actually sign a side letter today for the sick leave incentive, so we got one chunk kind of checked off there, so that was a positive. We do know, though, that we have some very heavy, dense kind of subjects coming up, and we do hope that we are going to be able to work through those and to work through those successfully and also in a timely manner. That is the hope, I believe, on both sides. However, we would like to take an opportunity to remind our board members that a teacher's, or actually a professional educator's job, spans much more widely and goes much deeper than just the surface level that I think a lot of people often think of when it comes to teachers or educators and their jobs. So just a reminder on that front. Also, as the cost of living continues to increase, as do the district's reserves, and while other districts are giving their teachers COLA and more, recruiting and retaining quality, high-quality professional educators here becomes more and more difficult all the time. I have said, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, I was born and raised here. And I firmly believe, despite anything and everything, I firmly believe that the educators and the students and the schools we have here are some of the best around, if not the best. I might be slightly biased, but they are the best. I know for a fact our students are the best, and so they deserve the best educators possible. And so we need to make sure we do all we can to attract, recruit, retain high-quality educators here. Thank you.
Thank you. Operating Engineers Local Union number 3.
Good evening, President Davis. My name is Felix Huerta. I'm the union representative for the Operating Engineers Local Union number 3. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update over the last couple of months. I've been meeting with Dr. Rocco Greco on a number of personnel issues. We did have a all-hands meeting for the health aides in your district. There were a number of problems that we addressed. In fact, one of the solutions to those issues that we brought up was about communication, training, and so one of the training sessions are scheduled to take place tomorrow, it's my understanding. So that's good. But one of the things that did come up in the course of this was a concern that we have, a very serious concern. I was here a few months ago when a former employee came to you about a concern about being released or terminated as a result of not qualifying for the position that he was hired. And I have become aware of something very similar in your health services department. I am concerned about it because part of the problems that we have is about communication, about integrity. And to me, integrity means when you apply for a job, you qualify. And so my intention is to provide this information to your Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services tomorrow so that you can take the same kinds of actions that you took before. Integrity means you follow the same rules for everybody. Integrity means you treat everybody equally. And the fact that that is a concern that I have raised with the Superintendent of Personnel Services, the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services needs to be addressed because your department has been run horrendously. Lack of training, lack of communication, failure to return phone calls, communicating on the weekends, on holidays, that's got to stop. And so this needs to be addressed. It's a serious matter. If this becomes an issue, I will provide the information that I have to other employees who have been terminated from this district to show that if this board does not treat people equally, you're going to have a problem. Secondly, it's unfortunate that we're hiring employees who will be proposed for layoff in June. I noticed in your board packet that you have 14 or 15 positions listed for layoff in the Health Aid Services Department. And I'm concerned about that, so I'm telling you right now that we'd like to request to meet and confer over the impact and effect. It's my understanding that we're short-staffed in bus drivers, so I want to see what we can do about trying to train these employees that are currently working here to be able to provide bus services for your department that's short-staffed. If they're good to work for us here in one department, they should be able to be trained to work in another department for us. We shouldn't lay people off if we need those kinds of employees who have shown dedication and worked throughout the pandemic. So you will be receiving a request to meet and confer over a full MOU, including a multi-year contract, including incorporating health benefits that OE3 provides. And so I hope that you take what I say seriously about the fact that this information will be provided to your Assistant Superintendent tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the California School Employees Association, number 326 and 648. Association of Management and Confidential Employees. Supervisory Unit. Now we're going to have presentations from Ella Elementary and Olivehurst Elementary. Which one wants to go first?
Okay. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity tonight to share with you how Ella School is using its resources to support student academic achievement. This is Ella School's mission and vision. We revisit and refine this each year to be sure it is a current reflection of our school. This year we have focused on our vision by dedicating 20 minutes of each of our staff meetings to this important work. This slide explains the purpose of our SIPSA. The comprehensive needs assessment is very important in making sure when planning our SIPSA that we have included parents, staff, students, and the community in this plan. Opportunities to share and express ideas for ways to support our alligators academically, socially, and emotionally is a team effort and reflected in our yearly plan. Listed on this slide are some of the ways we gather this information. Ella has 4 goals that align to MJUSD's LCAP goals. Goal 1 strategies include ongoing professional development for staff, paraprofessionals to support interventions in the classrooms, a full-time tech lead who supports the integration of technology in classrooms, and support for our continued PLC journey and PBIS work. The smiling faces you see on this slide are Bridget, Kayla, and Jessica, a few of our paraprofessionals, and Meng, our technology lead. Goal 2 strategies include supplemental instructional materials and supplies, books to acknowledge student achievements in reading, supplemental technology programs, purchasing and replacing technology, and SEL supplemental materials. The 4 technology programs you see displayed in this slide were purchased this year to support students. Teachers are surveyed at the end of each school year to find out what technology supports they have tried, are currently using, and what programs will best support our students in making academic growth. Our site PD opportunities this year have been focused on Nearpod, Vocabulary, Reflex Math, Frax, and Lexia. The picture in the corner is one of our 3rd graders who was so excited after school to share his achievement recognition for Reflex Math. This collection of pictures includes our students visiting our book vending machine after meeting their personal goal in Lexia or AR, SEL books purchased for each classroom to support the implementation of the 12 tools of Toolbox, art and science integration in the classroom. We even hosted a butterfly garden inside the library during the fall when the caterpillars arrived at the wrong time of year. Here I would like to share some room transformations by some of our teachers focusing on fun ways to engage students in learning while also targeting grade level standards with hands-on activities. It was Zombies in October and Super Bowl in January. Each month, teachers recognize a student of the month and admin rewards the students at a lunchtime ceremony. Monthly popcorn parties are rewarded to the class in each grade level that earns it for using a level 2 voice in the cafeteria. We also extend our PBIS acknowledgements to our staff with our amazing Gator recognition at our staff meeting and Gator drawing for a prize. A staff room whiteboard is used to recognize each other for weekly shout outs. Goal 3 strategies focus on increasing our communication and building connections to our community. We have partnered with Safe Routes to School this year, and we had a walk, roll, or bike to school day earlier in the year. Students earned water bottles and participated in fun activities on crosswalk safety before school on the playground. Ella has also continued our partnership with the Yuba-Sutter Food Bank and distribute food boxes to our families once a month. Last week, we celebrated Read Across America Week. In preparation for this celebration, while observing our health and safety protocols, Ella staff worked to invite community members to our campus to record them reading a Dr. Seuss book to be shared with our students. We are grateful to our volunteer readers and our ORC and tech lead who compiled the readings onto a shared Google document for classrooms to enjoy. Another Goal 3 strategy has been to increase parent involvement on campus. We have encouraged parents to re-engage with our school by joining Ella School Site Council. We have 5 new parents on our council this year. We encourage them to attend ELAC meetings and join our PTO. We have a new community of parents leading PTO this year. The following pictures represent a few of the activities PTO has supported with this year: Thanksgiving and Valentine grams, new spirit wear for Ella School to show their Gator pride, sponsoring a visit from Santa for our TKK and first graders, supporting Ella families during Thanksgiving and Christmas with holiday meals, and most recently, sponsoring Ella families to run in the Bokai 5K run. Goal 4 strategies focus on supporting our EL students to grow in their understanding of English and become fluent English speakers. This is a picture of our amazing ORC Joanna and EL facilitator Areli. This is Ella's total budget for the 21-22 school year SIPSA. In closing, I would like to share some photos of our amazing Ella staff. This is only a small representation of the dedicated staff that are giving 100% to support our students to build relationships with their peers, make connections to our school and re-engage in learning, and to feel safe and excited to come to school each day. Thank you, and I look forward to a time when you can come visit Ella soon.
Thank you. Olivehurst.
It's hard to follow a school that you were at for 9 years. Man, how do you do that? Rob Greger, principal of Olivehurst Elementary, if you're not aware. I was the principal there for 9 years, and then also at Cedar Lane. I spent 6 years as principal and a year as assistant principal there. So I feel blessed to be a part of our community and our wonderful district. So thank you, trustees and cabinet, for allowing me to be a part of that. For Olivehurst Elementary, we are continuing to grow, and since I came to the site, we are focusing really on our math and our ELA is some of the things that we're really struggling in. When we actually looked at our scores, we average 80% of our kids are 2 years or more behind. So we know that, and we know that's where we started. And then, as you know, 2 years ago, almost this week, things took a turn, and we kind of went in a different direction. And so because of that, through COVID and things, we had started a process that a lot of you, we call PLCs, and we started building our mission and our vision. When we did that, we said that all Olivehurst Eagles will soar in a positive, safe, and supportive community, and that we'll all fly high. So one of the things we started doing is working with our maintenance department about bringing our site back up to a beautiful place where the kids and the community and the staff wanted to be there. If you're not aware, we got some new we got paint this year. Last year, we also were able to get some carpet in classrooms. We've been able to get solar starting this week. We've had multiple projects through the maintenance department. Some of the other projects that we work with is we work something what's called a day in the garden. This is one of those things that you inherit when you become an administrator at a site and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. I call it the jungle. And so welcome to the jungle. As you can see, it overgrows and gets big in a hurry. There were several teachers that had taken this on as a personal project of theirs, and then they had retired. And so when I came in, I don't know if I want to say the grace of God or what, but we ended up getting them canceled because of COVID. But this year, we're going to start back, thanks to Say Love and some of our staff, and we're going to have our day in the garden in May, the 25th of May this year. So please come out if you haven't had a chance to see what we're doing. Some of the things that we've determined as a staff is we're working on our purpose, our passion, and our growth. And to do that, we've done a lot of things through the time. We've gone on trips. Our kids got to actually float the river, thanks to the Yuba Water Agency. We also are trying to develop our growth, and this is a long way of doing this, and there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but it really comes down to what the LCAP has to say. And as we call it our SIPSA, which is our site plan, we wanted to develop what we were going to spend our monies on. So we really looked at what is it that we need to work on. We needed to develop our time with our EL students. We were working our technology, and then our intervention for after-school and professional development for our staff. So that was our goal one, is actually providing some results to see that our ELA and our math are growing. Our goal two is to just help our environment of our site, getting people to love school again and to be a part. And to do that, we started working on our student enrichment, diversity. We're working on parent participation and school-to-home communication. And the last part, we were working on trying to increase our parent and family community and get more of them involved in our ELAC, our PTO, our DAC, and other community areas. So that's basically. The bottom line, though, going back to it, is we really have tried and we're making the effort to grow in our math and our proficiency in math and ELA. As you heard, we are behind and we want to get ahead. And so we feel like our children deserve that. So some of the things that we're doing in the classroom is just some of the areas that you can see where they've actually been doing some art. We do music. We get kids involved in every way that we can. I wanted to go over one last thing before I started ending, and that is what we call our collective commitments. That's kind of like the why of why we do what we do. And I think that's really important for everybody to understand why you do what we do. And for the teachers, we call it Tier 1, and then Tier 2 or Tier 3 in our intervention points. Tier 1 is basically changing you, right? Tier 2 is the interventions. What are we going to do? Well, the Tier 3 is intense intervention, where we have children that are really struggling, and we actually pull them out, and they go into our soaring zone, and they work in there, and they help that. So these are the actual things that our staff did when we were developing our mission and our vision, was our collective commitments. We're working on being data-driven. We're working on those tiered interventions so that all students can be able to grow. We're going to use the data and analyze it so that we have measurable growth that's both informal and formal. We wanted to be consistent in our school-wide expectations, not only in what we do in the classroom, but in the behavior outside of the classroom, and holding all students to the same expectation through the PBIS and using that with fidelity. We're trying to create a positive relationships between our staff, our parents, and also the community. That's like what we did with Say Love and getting families out there and getting people involved and being a part of what we're doing and seeing the great things that Olivehurst Elementary has. And we're trying to build trust, obviously, because I don't know if you realize I was the 4th principal in 5 years when I came to our site just a few years ago. And so there's a lot of trust issues. So we're working on building that and developing that relationship through that trust for our families and then for our staff. And the last 2 parts is we wanted to use our technology as an enhancement, not as just a fun thing to do, but it actually helps that and make sure that we are doing interventions to fidelity. And thank God we were doing those things, because when COVID hit, it was an easier transition for our staff to be able to do concurrent teaching, to be able to do some of the things that were the most difficult. The last part is we work on our PLCs, which is our grade level and cross-grade level collaboration. And that goes back to the why. The students, looking at the data, where are they now and where do we want them to go? And then you build a roadmap and you develop that and you move from, I call backwards, and then you go forwards, because you got to build the stepping stones of where you're going. If any of you have ever done a little bit of work around your house, you have to map it out in your brain. What's it going to look like? And that's what you're doing when you take those grade level, cross-level, grade level collaborations, is you're looking at your plot of land, and then you start placing things where they need to be. But if you want to get from one side of the garden or from one side of your backyard to the other, you need to make a path of where you're going to go. And you want to try to make it with the least resistance. So you start at the very furthest places, what you want to be, to where you are now is the furthest part where you are away from where you want to be. And then you just start putting in the path as you go through. And that's where we are at Olivehurst, and we're developing that path. Any questions for me?
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you. As you know, with glasses, my trifocal, now I have to focus on
I do want to say just thank you to Ms. McAdams and Mr. Greger for all that you do for our students and our staffs at the school. So thank you.
Amy?
While Russell's pulling up the video, I gave the music teachers a task. I said, I need a presentation for the school board. What can you do?
And here, I asked them to bring us into their classroom. And here's a video of their presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Marysville Joint Unified School District Spotlight on the Music Department, celebrating Music in Our Schools Month on March 8th, 2022. Here are a few benefits of music education. They improve the fine motor skills and executive functions, improve language development and fundamental math skills, improve focus and memory, and improve self-confidence and self-esteem. Pictured here is our music team for the 21-22 school year. Not pictured is Zenobia Brown from Marysville Charter Academy for the Arts. First, we have Susan Farwell, and she teaches at Kynoch and Covalad Elementary Schools. All classes receive 20 to 30 minutes of general music education each week, which includes singing techniques, solfege, rhythm, beat, form, basic music literacy, and classroom instruments. Covalad 4th and 5th graders have instrumental classes each week during the school day where they have learned xylophone, ukulele, and flute. Kynoch offers an after-school program for 4th and 5th graders where students learn ukulele, xylophone, flute, and violin. Deanna Wiseman teaches K-6 music at Arboga and Cedar Lane Elementary Schools. Kindergarten and first graders explore beat, rhythm, form, melody, harmony, and ostinato on various instruments, including orff. Mrs. Wiseman also uses ETM and Kodai methods. Second and third graders do all of the aforementioned as well as playing boomwhackers and recorders. Fourth, fifth, and sixth graders explore beat, form, and playing as an ensemble with bucket and world drumming. Melody, form, and harmony are explored using ukulele. Arboga offers a pull-out band and choir program. After school at Arboga, Mrs. Wiseman offers sign language classes, which is also a 6th grade elective at Cedar Lake. Dionisio Martinez teaches music at 5 elementary schools in the foothills, once a week for each site. The major aim for this year, considering the online teaching during the last 2 years of COVID, is to have ear training with recorders at each site, plus using percussion instruments available for rhythm. In some schools, we have beginner band instruments and aim to prepare the higher grades, 5th and 6th graders, for next year's middle school bands. We are aiming for an end-of-year school music concert. Erin Pelfrey teaches at Edgewater and Olivehurst Elementary Schools for all students TK through 6th grade. One can tell it is music time when the enthusiastic sound of young voices can be heard emanating from the music room singing, "Hello everybody, yes indeed." Music classes are held once a week for 20 to 30 minutes, except for 6th grade students who meet twice a week for 35 minutes. Students at all grade levels sing, move, and explore a variety of pitched and unpitched percussion instruments that include orff, boomwhackers, and world drums. The sounds are amazing and student creativity shines. Students have been heard saying, "My favorite thing about music is to play the xylophone and the drums because you get to create your own music and rhythms." Another student commented, music is my safe place." Laura Ann Madot teaches music at Ella and Johnson Park Elementary for all students TK through 6th grade. After teaching music virtually for the 2020-21 school year, Mrs. Madot is thrilled to see all students in person and continue to build strong relationships with her students. The music room is filled with fun in many different ways to experience the world of music while improving confidence and self-esteem. Singing, rhythm and movement, music history, and appreciation are some of the many ways students experience music, along with boomwhackers, recorders, orff instruments, pitched and unpitched percussion instruments, and ukulele. Some great students from students include, "I wish we had music every day. I learned something new today. Music just makes my heart sing. When I grow up, I want to be a music teacher." Becky Stewart is in the middle of her 7th year at Yuba Gardens Intermediate. Over the past 7 years at Yuba Gardens, we have more than quadrupled the size of the music program and kept a very rigorous performance schedule. During Becky's first year, there were 27 students in band and 32 students in choir. Now there are 127 students in band and 60 in choir before COVID. We are the only middle school in the area to proudly support our athletic teams with pep band at select home games. Yuba Gardens has had students participate in regional and state solo and ensemble competitions, large ensemble competitions, honor choir, and honor band. Yuba Gardens students soar above and beyond at these events. We have had students achieve superior and command performances at both the regional and the state level, being featured in CMEA magazine. We have had soloists chosen from Yuba Gardens Choir for Honor Choir every year, and we hold the record for the most choir students sent from one school, with 26 this year. We are also sending 12 high-achieving band students to Honor Band this year to represent Yuba Gardens. The music students at Yuba Gardens not only have a positive impact when performing, but they have an outstandingly positive impact on their campus as well. These students take so much pride in their school and can be heard chanting "Go YG" all the time. These students also go out of their way to make every student on campus feel the camaraderie of being a warrior by clapping for each other and showing support when every student's name is called at our recognition rallies. All of the music students call choir and band their home and are proud to be involved in the activity. These students truly exemplify pride, being present and prepared, respectful, showing integrity, determination, and etiquette every day. Yuba Gardens music students continue to pursue and embody excellence. David Heredia. At Foothill, Mr. Heredia is bringing music back to the campus after an almost 2-year hiatus. Currently, Foothill School has one concert band available for all grades, which rehearses during the school day and performs concerts at the end of each semester. The image you will see on this slide is of their first winter concert, and they will have their spring concert in May. Marysville Charter Academy for the Arts' focus is on achieving excellence through collaboration and the arts. The school offers many visual, performing arts, and physical arts classes. Music classes include concert band, jazz band, string orchestra, piano, guitar, choir, songwriting, and music theory. Many music students are involved in a combination of these classes, as well as other classes in dance, theater, and visual arts. Being in such a rich arts environment provides classes with the chance to collaborate and teach students how art relates across different mediums. This year, for example, strings classes provided live music for the dance recitals. Recently, the jazz band and choir classes have started rehearsing to perform a piece together during MCAA's Music Week. Although students take a variety of these classes over the years they are at MCAA, it does not lower the quality of performance that students achieve. MCAA's marching band performs every year in the Buckeye Parade and the Marysville Christmas Parade, where they have maintained a first-place streak since 2014. And this year, they are sending 6 high-achieving students to participate in the Northern Section Honor Band in March. All of MCAA's music classes provide students with basic skills, advanced techniques, and foster their knowledge in the arts. Each class is a unique place where students can establish and maintain supportive relationships and, in turn, can learn in a safe and caring environment. Lyndhurst High School has had a tradition of musical excellence and community presence from the very beginning of the school's existence. Currently, choir, advanced, and beginning piano and 2 levels of band are offered in the program, despite many varying challenges like budget cuts, changes in directors over the years, and now a pandemic. Lyndhurst has held onto its music program and continues to strive for musical excellence both in and out of the classroom. Christina Slay Garcia has spent the last 9 years at LHS, and in that time, the program has begun to come back and thrive thanks to the many efforts of the program at Yuba Gardens and the continued support from our board and district administration. When Mrs. Garcia first began at LHS, she had no way of getting her students to meet state standards for their grade level. Now in 2022, the program is playing high school level music, and she is about to send her first group of high-achieving band students off to participate in the Northern Section Honor Band at the end of the month. In addition to the Honor Band, LHS will be traveling to their first Heritage Festival in April, where they will be competing for rank and ratings. The slide you'll see is a showcase of the events the program participated in for the 2021 fall semester. These events include LHS football games, performing with YG for the Walk to School celebration, the Veterans Day Parade, the LHS Junior ROTC 9/11 ceremony, and many more performances. In addition to building up the program, Mrs. Garcia has spent a lot of time and energy focused on the type of student that represents the program. If you were to meet an LHS band member, you should know that they have heart. H is for honesty, E is for effort, A is for a positive attitude, R is for both respect and responsibility, and finally T is for truthful and trusting. This is the Lyndhurst Music Department, and we have heart. Mr. Heredia is also the music director at Marysville High School. Since 2018, Marysville High has been building their own independent program for the first time since 2005. Currently, Mr. Heredia leads 2 guitar classes, a concert band, and assists with the newly created choir club made only a couple weeks ago. The guitar classes introduce students to basic music theory and introductory guitar performance. The concert band provides a high level of music instruction for the intermediate performer. The MHS Concert Band has performed multiple concerts this year, including the MJUSD Music Showcase in October in their winter concert. They will be performing for the Yuba College Invitational March 10th, the Music in Our Schools concert March 16th, and our own spring concert in May. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you soon at the Music in Our Schools concert on March 16th at 6 p.m. at Yuba Gardens.
Can I go ahead and ask the directors to go ahead and stand and let everybody see you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to department updates, business services.
Good evening. My business update this week is for the Foothill Modernization Project. As you recall, it was approved on February 8th board meeting. And currently, Brian Horn, our purchasing director, and Monty Thatch, our construction management consultant, are preparing a request for proposal to go out to the district-approved pool of architects, which include PBK, RGA, and JKA. Once we receive these proposals, a committee will be formed to review the submitted proposals, and interviews will be conducted, and an architect will be chosen by using a ranking system. We will bring the architect's contract to the April 26th board meeting for your board approval.
Thank you. Education services.
For education services, we're going to go with the music was the presentation tonight, and we'll skip to the personnel part. So for personnel, we have a few things that are exciting to report out. So we just recently met and had a bargaining session with CSEA to begin updating all of the job descriptions for our paraeducators. So that was a very productive session. As Ms. Stiegel mentioned, we met with MUTA today. It was a great session. We did get the incentive for sick leave article signed, and so that part was completed for that side letter. And she's right, it's very nice to be able to have conversations at the table and know that there are tough topics that we have to work through as adults and as human beings, but that as we do that, it doesn't affect relationships. And you know that you have a good, strong family here at MJUSD when you can have those conversations, when you can disagree, and then start looking for solutions of how do we move forward from that. So I thank the MUTA team as well as the MJUSD team for today's session as well. We have hiring season coming up for anyone who's out there in internet land and is looking to be part of an amazing family of employees and students. I would encourage you to look on EdJoin, as all of our postings are going through there at this point, and apply. Not recognizing when I made these comments, everyone would be here for music tonight. I was going to give a shout out. What we've begun to do is to try and entice people in on our job postings. On EdJoin, there's a place to customize what you're really looking for, to reach out to the community. The music department was the first one to reach out with this is really what we're looking for. So we've adapted the front page of the job descriptions in that so that MJUSD can really begin to tailor what we're looking for in employees and attracting the people that we want here for our students and for our community. So we thank the music department for that as well. And then from there, I think the final thing is we have interviews coming up. We'll be interviewing tomorrow. We have an amazing pool of applicants for the Lyndhurst High School position, and then as well for the preschool director position. So those will be moving forward as we go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Ashrani.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I want to start off by saying thanks to everybody for your patience with the masking situation. As you know, we're waiting till 11:59 p.m. on Friday. So if you're as excited as I am, that's something to look forward to. On the other note, I would like to take a quick moment of silence for the student that we lost last week. So if you can just give us just a few minutes of silence in his memory. So I'd like to thank Ms. Jolie Critchfield for her work with this family. I was able to visit the family with Jolie, and of course, you know, there's no words to express the sadness when you lose a student, you lose a child. And a similar loss was experienced by Ella a month ago, and again, we went to the family. There's no way to express the loss and the suffering, but just they're part of our family and will always remain that. I also want to say the music presentation was so exciting today, but because of the good work you guys are doing, and I want you to know that, our own Amy Stratton is now going to be creating the district music committee, bringing all of you guys to the table and really listening to what we need to do to make the music programs and the arts in our schools more exciting. I know we keep talking about STEM, but we also talk about STEAM. So I want you to know that the word STEAM is always there in our minds. So don't feel ignored, all right? So STEM and STEAM, they go hand in hand. It's that A that you guys bring to the table. So I want to mention that. And also so proud of the students that you saw today. And I wanted to give a shout out to Bob and his team at Lyndhurst and to Troy. They took a small vision of creating more communication with the community and turned that pathway into a broadcast studio for the district. So hats off, and a shout out to Courtney, our PIO, who spends so much time working with the students and making sure they're doing what they need to do and make sure our district stays on top. I will end on this, but I want to give my time to Ms. Alicia Wright to do some quick updates for the community on the Dobbins conversation we've been having. I know there's some interest, and also I'm sure you want to hear about FEV tutors. The board did fund that, and we would like to bring back to the board some of the updates of some of these programs that we are funding. She'll take just a few minutes. She speaks as fast as I do.
Superintendent Ashrani, cabinet members, and members of the audience. This evening, I'm going to give you a brief presentation on two programs, as Dr. Ashrani said. First, FEV Tutor, and then the program that we've been really working on, Dobbins, and talking about how that high school program is developing. Do we have the ability to present? Excellent, thank you. With FEV Tutor, as you know, in December, we kicked off having the FEV Tutor as an option for students to log in using their Clever platform. It is something that they can do from school with teacher guidance, or something that they can do at their home on their own time. It can be just-in-time support. If they go home and need assistance, they can log in and reach out to a tutor based on homework needs, or they can pre-schedule tutoring. And at that time, they'll have a set, Monday, Wednesday, 3 o'clock standing session with a tutor, and they try to have tutors available and the same one each time. So we're going to look a little bit at the data for the initial 2 months of usage. So from, again, the kickoff at winter break in December through February 28th, we've used 995.4 hours. There have been 186 individual unique participants. The attendance rate is at 17%, but I want to explain that. Again, parents can sign up and say that they'd like their students to have tutoring at 3 o'clock every Monday and Wednesday, and that's ongoing until they cancel it or miss so many sessions. So that percentage is a bit low. It's something that we're going to be working on. And along those lines as well, we do not get paid for missed sessions. I did verify that as well when I saw those rates were looking a little bit low. The session rating, and this is for the tutors, are between 4.49 for the actual tutor themselves, and then the session content is slightly lower. And parents have been reaching out to make recommendations or to express their thanks. So we're fielding those calls as well. We can briefly look at the different percentages based on schools and their usage, as well as their attendance. You're going to see some fluctuation or differences in the percentages and the hours used. FEV has reached out to all of the sites and offered to provide them with specific tutoring sessions and different sheets to recommend students. And so principals and assistant principals are in the process of gathering some of that data. So you can see Edgewater has utilized quite a few more hours than others. If we look at the next site as well, you'll see some of the older kids. Obviously, numbers are higher because I think it's something they can pop on when they have the need. They recognize their need more than the younger kids. So we're working on supporting that. With Linda Elementary, they've got a high amount here. What they've been doing is incorporating FEV Tutor into their after-school tutoring program and supporting students with attending sessions that might not do it at home on their own. As we look forward, tomorrow we have our PD Day for teachers, and we have 2 sessions that FEV Tutor will be sharing more information, again, to build the understanding of what they can do and support teachers. We do have the communication on hold from FEV Tutor. Initially, they were doing calls to families to schedule, and we're working through how we're going to reach out and share information with families so that they know. We're working on getting site-level planning meetings so that they can utilize the program either as tutoring or as part of their school day if interested. And then we're looking into offering additional family webinars. If you have any questions, FEV Tutor is very responsive. Their California@fevtutor.com is a resource for families, administrators, and even you as the board if you have questions. So thank you for providing this opportunity to our students and our families, and I look forward to sharing information in the future and watching this program grow thanks to your approval.
Thank you very much.
The final update I'm going to talk about is the community meetings that were held on February 7th at Foothill Intermediate School and Dobbins Elementary for the proposed Dobbins High School program. I'm going to do a brief overview of what was shared at those meetings, but I'm not going to read everything on the slides, and then talk about where we are with the project. So as you know, the Yuba foothills are an amazing area. It's a hidden gem of the area and one of the reasons that it was identified to be a potential location for a high school. When we look at the 6 schools that are currently up in the rural areas of Yuba County, we serve 681 MJUSD students, and some of the students in the further outlying areas are on the bus for up to 2 hours each way to get to Marysville High School. We looked at the need, obviously, the transportation and distance. When we looked at different locations, Dobbins High School provided the opportunity for students that were at Yuba-Feather and beyond to be able to get to high school in 14 miles, which was very comparable and different than the 37 miles or more to MHS. Additionally, there was governor's proposed budget that would support kind of the expansion of STEM-based programs, technology, healthcare, education that lended itself nicely to a possible plan. Excuse me. When we talked about why we considered a high school at Dobbins, first and foremost, parents reached out and really wanted to ask for a high school in the area. Dobbins is our smallest school district-wide, so it made sense to look into possibilities for utilizing it. Students from the rural area, as we mentioned, had one option of high school to go to, either Marysville High School or choosing the Charter Academy, but that was still up to a couple hours for each student. We looked at project-based learning opportunities for students when we considered the new high school, knowing that it would be smaller. It would be a great way to do STEM in the schools, to have prospective partnerships with Yuba Water Agency, UC Davis, and other community businesses. And we talked about the importance of sports and electives to keep students engaged, even though it was a smaller community. So we looked at some unique individual sports and electives that they could take advantage of. Once we handled these 2 meetings and we got to really get a feel for what the community and parents were saying, we felt it was important to send out surveys. And so we did send out a survey through our school communication system to all MJUSD families. Additionally, knowing that families in the hills don't all have internet, we sent paper copies of the survey to all of the Dobbins and Yuba-Feather students. As you can see, we received 107 responses. 89 were online and 18 were paper surveys. When we looked at this information, we really focused on current 8th and 9th grade responses because that would tell what we have as a student population in the next school year. And we had 11 families that said yes, they would attend, and 5 that were unsure. And that would be both 9th and 10th graders next year. So that was only 16 students. We looked at the potential growth, and as you can see, for 23 to 26 and then long term, there is some growth and interest, but not quite the numbers that we would need to really move forward at this time. So for the 22-23 school year, we are planning on keeping the elementary school at Dobbins and then adding a blended secondary campus. As we're looking through and talking about why are we reviewing the information, if we're changing plans, it's really important to keep in mind we want to ensure that we're responding to the needs of our students and our families and their desire for a high school in the hills. We've met with the community, we've gotten their surveys and feedback, and we really want to take our commitment seriously. If we start thinking about what we need to do in the future and start building it, we can develop something in time. For students who don't want to participate in a traditional high school program, there will now be a blended opportunity where they can participate without the transportation of 2 hours each way should they choose. Looking deeper into this blended learning option, we understand there's an ongoing need for a high school in the foothills. We're looking at a satellite option that would support students in grades 7 through 12, so no longer just the traditional high school grades. We would look at a middle school and high school CTE elective, give them the chance to work together in classroom settings, identifying again some of those possible after-school sports, and they might be individual-based, so something a little bit less traditional, but it will allow students to participate and to be engaged. And then most importantly, for students that are participating in this program, they're going to have access to lab courses all day. So if they need to come in and get support for an entire day, they would be able to do that, or they could drop in as needed. And I think this is a really important way to keep the students that are out a little bit further connected. And if they don't have the internet access, this would support them as well. They will have participation in potential dances, ASB, field trips, and interns. So we're looking at different ways to, again, keep students engaged and keep them excited about coming to school. Thank you for your time, and as things progress, we'll share more information with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Good job. Now we have approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes of the last meeting? February 22nd, 22. Hearing none, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as posted? Motion approved by Doug Criddle, second.
Second.
Second by Randy Rasmussen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0. Jeff Boom had to leave early. Now we have the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any of the board members would like to pull at this time? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we move to new business. For the next few items, there are going to be readings of some of the updates to our policies. So the first one is 16.1, complete the first read of Administrative Regulations, 1312.4, Williams Uniform Complaint Procedures.
Good evening, Board. Typically, the Board does not approve AR, but unfortunately, or fortunately, through our FPM process, it was brought to light that our Williams procedures actually do need to be approved by the Board. It doesn't matter if it's a Board policy or an AR, but the actual Williams procedures need to be approved. So that's why we're approving reading the first read for the AR.
So are there any questions for Amy? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Actually, this is just informational.
I'm sorry, I got mixed up again. That was an informational item. Thank you, Amy. Sorry.
No worries.
Now we're at, the next one is 16.2, complete the first read, Board Policy 6142.7, Physical Education and Activity.
Yes, this also came out of our FPM review. The parts that need to be corrected is under the exemptions. The old policy read superintendent or designee, but Ed Code says it's supposed to, the exemptions are approved by the school board or the county superintendent. And so this is a correction that we have to make for our FPM findings.
Any questions for Ms. Stratton? The next one is 16.3, update on federal program monitoring, FPM review 2021-2022.
Okay, so just a quick review, compliance monitoring, because we are a county, a school district, or direct funded charter county office who receive certain funding for certain programs, are randomly chosen by the state, or they're chosen by the state, and this was our time for review. So we had 72 items that were under review, and we had 66 of those items passed, so that's a 92% pass rate. Our review happened February 22nd through the 25th, and the sites that were reviewed were Cedar Lane, McKinney, and Lyndhurst. I'm going to very quickly go through what was reviewed. The first category that was reviewed was our adjusted cohort graduation rate. This has to do with making sure that we are using the correct exit codes when our students graduate or they leave, or if there's dropout rates, things like that. There were 3 items here, and we passed with no findings. The next item was a compulsatory education, which is basically your Title I programs. Again, we passed with no findings. The next one was our EL learners. We had 4 findings, which I've asked Mimi to explain those when we get there. Our PE, we had 1 finding, which is our board policy, which we've already discussed. Our supporting effectiveness in instruction, which is our SEI, which is basically our Title II funds, we had no findings. Our school support and improvement, which is our state accountability system, we had no findings. And our uniform complaint procedure, which was our 1 finding, which was our AR, the Williams Act. We already talked about that one. We have 45 calendar days to clear these findings, which basically means we have to put in place some sort of resolution or way to correct the findings. So I'm going to have Mimi explain all the EL findings.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Fall, Cabinet, and members of the audience. My name is Noemi Arroyo Magaña. I am the ELD Program Specialist, and I've had the task and the privilege to complete the EL-FPM instrument. So we had 4 findings in ELD out of 15 total parts. The first finding referred to ELAC. So as you know, we are responsible for holding ELAC meetings in those sites where we have 21 or more English learners. While we are all conducting ELAC, we have to do a better job at making sure that our representatives, our parent representatives at ELAC, have substantial input in the site plan. So we have to do a better job at doing that, and we'll be doing some training in early April with all our site administrators for that. EL11 refers to teacher authorizations. All teachers that serve English learners have to have adequate EL authorizations via CTE. So we do have 6 teachers who still are working on their EL authorization, so we'll be working with the personnel department to clear those findings. The next finding is EL14. EL14 refers to instruction and learning. So this is going to be a lot more challenging to clear. The findings revealed that we have not been providing an adequate ELD program of instruction across our sites. So this will be a little bit more intensive. This is going to take time to build a system, to create those structures, to make sure that we're all clear on what we have to do in order to increase language proficiency for our English learners. And the last one, EL15, refers to access to the standard curriculum. As has been mentioned before at our board meetings, we have a 6-period day, which makes it very challenging for our English learners and other special populations to complete AP courses, CTE pathways, and other requirements. So currently we're working on ways to make sure that we make the standard curriculum of instruction accessible to our 1,800 English learners, but also making sure they're on track for graduation.
The last two slides are just review of what we've already talked about for PE. We just need to update our board policy and how we do exemptions. So starting next year, the board will be authorizing the exemptions we offer. And very quickly to talk about that, our students have to have 400 minutes of PE every 10 days at the high school, all the way through 12th grade. Our state policy says our kids only need 2 years of PE. So that last gap of their juniors and senior year, if the kids aren't taking a PE class, the board has to give permission for that. They have to waive them out through Ed Code. And so starting next year in closed session, you guys will be giving permission for those waivers. That's the other half of our policy to clear PE. And uniform complaint is to make sure our AR is board approved. So these are our findings that we have to do corrective action on, or to correct our, for the timeline, the board policies will be approved at the March 22nd board meeting. And Mimi will continue to provide the training and write the procedures that we're going to need over the course of the next 45 days to get those findings cleared. Any questions?
Any questions from the board for Amy? Very well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have new business personnel service. Dr. Ashrani.
I'd just like to have Mr. Greco make some corrections to the 2 job descriptions in the folder.
So on the first job description that we're looking at here, and so that we're on item number 17, this is the Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services. There is one correction in your special reports on page 46. There was a job description that was copied in, so we just struck that top job description. So up at the top there, under position description of who it reports to, that piece is just removed from the job description.
Are there any questions for Dr. Greco? Any questions at all for this job description from the board? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve with the corrections that Dr. Greco had mentioned.
There's a motion by Ms. Rasmussen to approve. Is there a second? Second by Doug Criddle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 6-0. Now we have the approval of the job description for Director of Special Education. Dr. Greco?
So on this one, we've had positions similar in the past. So we've had an executive director and we have student services. We did not have a specific direction or specific job description for Director of Special Education. So in the restructuring of that department, we're looking to move to one director with 2 coordinators, which will come up shortly, one to oversee elementary and one for secondary. So this would be the Special Education Director job description.
Are there any questions for Dr. Greco? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Doug Criddle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Crawford. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we have the approval of the job description for the Coordinator of Special Education.
Okay. And so this is for 2 FTEs. So like I had said in the previous one, these coordinator positions will be one for the secondary oversight and one for elementary to support special education. There was one change in this job description as well on 55 of your special reports. It was listed as 221 days at the end, and it's actually a 210-day position.
Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Greco? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second. Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we have the approval, the resolution 2021-22/20 for the elimination of classified particular kinds of services. Dr. Greco?
And so this is the PKS for types of services. We don't usually list in open session what those are, so these were the ones as discussed in closed session.
So we've already approved this?
I know you need to take your vote still.
Are there any questions for Dr. Greco? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug Criddle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we're moving to new business and business services. Presentation approval of the 2021-22 second interim financial report. Jennifer?
Good evening, President Davis, fellow trustees, Dr. Ashrani, Dr. Greco, and our community members. This evening, I'm here to present the 21-22 second interim report, and tonight's presentation is a summary of the report that's provided to you in your board packet. The second interim provides a picture of the district's financial condition during the fiscal year. By approving the second interim report, the board certifies the district's financial condition of a positive certification to the County Office of Education. The second interim report is from July 1st through January 31st and projects the financial activity through June 30th of 2022. Before I begin, I'd like to give a big thank you to the Fiscal Department for all their hard work and detailed dedication and their attention to detail to put these financials together. And also a giant thank you to Cindy Helms, our fiscal director, for her unlimited dedication and time and dedicated weekends to put this together. In this presentation, I'm going to go over the budget cycle, changes from our first interim, revenue and expenditure updates, fund balance, multi-year projections, and our looking forward and next steps. This is a budget reporting cycle that you've seen many times, and as a reminder, we're here in March presenting to you the second interim financial report. Coming up in April and May, we will start working on our LCAP and budget for 22-23, and then in May, we'll listen to the governor's May revise, and then in June, we'll be back with a budget for you to adopt, and then we'll start all over again in July 1st. So changes since first interim. This is a change in revenue from our first interim, and it's an additional $5.2 million. $5 million of it is in restricted state revenue for our ELOP and our Educator Effective Grant. These are the changes from first interim in our expenditures. It's an additional $7.6 million in expenditures, with the major changes from our transfers out in the amount of $8 million to our capital outlay Fund 40 for our Covalod classroom building project. We did have some savings from our unfilled vacant positions and a reduction in supply and concentration grant money due to our budget alignment at second interim. Our total unrestricted and restricted revenue at second interim equals $197.5 million. 55% of this is from our local control funding formula, and 30% comes from our federal revenue, which is made up of mostly of our COVID relief funds, title programs, and federal grants. Our total expenditures equal $180.5 million. And last Friday, we had the opportunity to bring capital advisors here to the district office, and we met with a few board members, district admin, and members of our bargaining units. At this meeting, the question was asked, what is included in the expenditure categories other than salary and benefits? And I have a few slides here to describe those items that are budgeted in each category. The first item is the expenditures that are often labeled as books and supplies. These items are such as textbooks, our classroom materials and supplies, custodial, maintenance and operation supplies, tools, fuel, and non-capitalized equipment. In our other services and operating expenses, that is for our travel and conference, agreements with for professional services, our utilities, our operating costs, maintenance of contracts for our copiers, and rents and leases. In the other outgo and transfer of indirect, those items include our restricted dollars that go to special ed for the tuition. And then in the out years, our unrestricted of around $4.3 million, those go to our certificate of participation payments that are coming due in 22-23, beginning in 22-23. Our transfer of indirect costs are recorded from other state and federal programs to the general fund for administrative activities such as accounting, budgeting, payroll, and personnel services. Other sources and uses account for our transfers in from our charter academy, $0.6 million in indirect costs. We have a transfer out of the $8 million to capital outlay and $1.65 million back to MCAA for Title I, ESSER I, and ESSER II funds. Our contributions to our restricted accounts for our special ed and our routine restricted maintenance amount to about $17 million. Our fund balance. As of January 31st, the ending fund balance for both restricted and unrestricted is $80 million. This is comprised of $40 million in unrestricted and $40 million in restricted. The components that make up these fund balances, the components that make up the fund balance are revolving cash, estimated ending stores inventory, restricted funds, committed funds for other employee post-retirement costs, and assignments and reserve for economic uncertainty. The items that fall under the assigned category of our components of fund balance in the sum of $33 million are for items such as site discretionary, facility projects, supplemental and concentration grants, our technology and textbooks, and future COP payments. The restricted fund balance is the majority of the majority of it is our COVID relief funds. And our restricted fund balance is comprised of funds that must be spent as designated by the grant or funding source that has provided the allocation, such as our title programs, our COVID relief funds, and our COVID relief funds are budgeted and earmarked through 23-24 and have been allocated towards learning recovery and COVID mitigation. Our multi-year projections are, when we project our multi-year budgets, we use assumptions outlined in the January Governor's Workshop. The assumptions include projected COLA and pension costs. We also take into consideration any known additional expenditures and remove one-time items such as capital outlay. This is a recap of our unrestricted general fund. The row with the yellow highlight reflects either a net increase or decrease to our beginning fund balance, resulting in either a surplus or a deficit. As you can see, the deficit decreases from the current year. The contributing factors that go into our deficit spending are the items listed here on the slide. We have $8 million for our Covalod classroom building project. In addition, we had an increase of 1.9 changes from our first interim to second interim. We had $3.3 million in our site and program carryover, 1.8 in the 2% negotiated salary increase from the beginning of the year, and 0.7 in one-time capital facility projects. And in the out years, the deficit spending is attributed to our certificates of participation payments, step and column increase, and the cost of step and column and associated benefits. This is a snapshot of our restricted multi-year projections, and notice that the $28.6 million surplus in the yellow highlight drops to a $6.3 and $5.7 million deficit in the out years. This is due to the COVID relief funds. The expenditures are budgeted into 22-23 and 23-24, but the money is anticipated to be received this year. Looking forward, we're going to continue to build our 22-23 adopted budget By doing so, we'll take into consideration staffing and position control, our local control accountability plan, site and program budgets, operating expenditures, and of course, our federal, state, and local grants. The budget is due by June 30th, 2022, and then we will see the state budget. We'll hear the May revise from the governor, and then we'll have a final state budget in June, and then we'll have a review of that enacted budget for July and August. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer. Angela Stiegel, did you want to make your comment?
There were a few questions that the teachers union had when we met on Friday, and I'm not sure if all of those got relayed or if all of those have had time to be looked into. But one question that we had for the district and for the board, since the board is the one who actually approved SiteLogic, is we're slightly confused when we're looking at these giant COPS payments that are coming in, because we were all told, sitting in this room, when SiteLogic came through, that the big deal with going SiteLogic and getting us jumped right into another whole COPS payment thing was that the savings from the SiteLogic on our energy was going to pay for COPS payment. And so I would like to know what happened with that and when we're going to see that, because based on what I have, doesn't look like we're going to be saving anything on SiteLogic. Looks like we're going to be kind of spending out the nose, for lack of a better term.
Thank you, great question. So with the SiteLogic savings, we haven't seen the savings yet, and they're predicted, but we don't have that dollar amount, so we're not allowed to budget for it. So once we have everything up and going and we see the savings, then you'll see a difference in our multi-year projections in our budget. But at this point, it's an unknown, and we know we have the payment, that's a known, but the savings is, we don't have that number yet.
Gotcha. And then, Jennifer, I'm not sure if they relayed another kind of big question that we had, but historically, our district, along with many others, books and supplies has kind of become like a catch-all, kind of everything goes there. And historically, what ends up happening in our district, and a lot of them, is millions and millions of dollars are budgeted for books and supplies, and then you get to the end of the year, and they've spent half or 60% or whatever of that. And so in the 3-year projection, there's already like $39 million being spent on books and supplies. And then also in that other little note, there's another $5 million. And so we're really projecting that we're going to spend $44 million in 3 years on books and supplies. I mean, I know the cost of gas is going up, but hey.
Are you referring to the combined books and supplies?
Yeah, it's from the one pager that we got on Friday that has the 3 years and then has the notes in it.
And so you're saying it combined over the years? So each year is individual, and if you look at this year, you'll notice it dropped from 18 million to 10 million because we're anticipating on spending the 18 million.
Right.
So we took out any one-time dollars such as site discretionary dollars or one-time materials and supplies that we don't anticipate having in 22, 23 or 23, 24. That brings it down to 10 million. And a lot of that, if you look in the restricted column, is around 4.7. That would be mostly our maintenance and special ed, and then our grants and, federal restricted grants.
So then, if we're dropping books and supplies down so much, which I see, 18 million down to 10 million for those 2 years, then when we had asked what made up that category of assigned, there's 5 million sitting there for textbook adoption, and then another 5 million for the tech plan. And so that's why we were kind of confused. It seems pretty excessive to still think that we need 5 million in assigned for textbook adoption if we've got a boatload of money sitting up in books and supplies up top. So that's why we were kind of confused.
So the allocation that you see above the assigned, above the gray line, those are for known expenses that we know we have.
Yeah.
The textbook adoption, we don't have that dollar amount yet, so that's why it's sitting in our savings, so that when we come to that time to adopt our curriculum, we have the funds there and available. They're not budgeted. The items above are actual budgeted items that we anticipate spending, like operating expenses, like
Right.
heat, power.
Right. Would we have any idea, and not to know right this second, because I know you've got a booklet about that big, would there be any way of finding out in this year and the 2 out years, out of that books and supplies, what number we're thinking is actually going to be textbooks? Because I think that's kind of creating a bit of
Sure.
angst and confusion with people. They're like, are we really going to spend that kind of money on
Yeah, because it's not
textbooks?
just
So-
textbooks,
Yeah.
right? It's all the other operating
Yeah, it's a bit of a
expenditures.
misnomer.
Yeah, it's not just textbooks. It's all the items I listed on the slide.
Right.
That summed up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if we
let's-
could find out
let's-
at some point which
Yes, we
part
can,
of
we
that
can,
then.
sure, we can do that.
If I may interrupt, this is just a public comment, so I think once you've clarified, we can't engage in
Okay.
that
Oh,
discussion.
okay.
So
I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay.
I'll email them next time, maybe. I'll ask them and then I'll email them, just, make sure. Thanks. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Jennifer on the budget? The interim, the 2021-22 second interim financial report. If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Randy Rasmussen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now, our last item of new business is 18.2, approval, authorization for Dr. Rafael Ashrani as a delegation of authority to sign contract documents for the continued funding application for the 22-23 fiscal year.
Hi, good afternoon, or good evening. Kathy Woods here, Child Development Director. Thank you, Board, and Dr. Ashrani for the opportunity. As you read, Mr. Davis, the purpose of the agenda item is really just that. The Department of Education reached out to me on behalf of the Child Development Program and is requesting the Board pass a resolution to authorize Dr. Ashrani as having the authority to sign our contracts. And so this contract is specific to our CSPP funds, which is our state preschool. So in essence, by you giving her authority, she will be able to sign our contracts for state preschool, which are about $2.5 million.
Are there any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Ms. Hanson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Crawford. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to move to public comments. We have two. Becky Stewart.
Good evening to Dr. Fall and all board members. My name is Becky Stewart, and I am the proud band and choir director at Yuba Gardens Intermediate and the advocacy representative for the California Music Educators Association Capital Section Board. This evening, I would like to address the topic of the new STEM high school in the foothills and other projected programs within the district. The STEM acronym was introduced in 2001 by scientific administrators at the U.S. National Science Foundation. While STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, focuses explicitly on scientific concepts and grew out of an interest in modernizing the future American workforce, STEAM is the second generation version. In 2006, STEAM education was developed, and it focuses on creating related and interconnected curricula designed to champion innovation in 21st century topics. While keeping science, technology, engineering, and math as core topics, STEAM also brings in the arts to help students learn how to leverage methods such as problem-based learning and inquiry commonly used in more creative fields. As defined by STEAM education, it stands for science and technology interpreted through engineering and the arts, all based in mathematical elements. This style of teaching focuses on providing an adaptable framework for education that highlights relationships between subject areas rather than cordoning each off. By taking this approach, education becomes more fluid and students learn how each discipline depends on the other. According to Forbes magazine, when the arts are a part of STEM, STEM can come to life and spark connections for many more students to engage creatively, critically, and confidently in their learning. A study by the National Endowment for the Arts found evidence that students who completed a STEAM curriculum in high school were 21% more likely to attend college as compared to those who lacked an arts education. Another study with recent research carried out by MIT and published in the Journal of Neuroscience shows that musical brains produce more structural and functional connections when compared to those who don't learn music. As quoted in the article, if you want smarter kids, teach them music, not coding. So why include the A in STEAM? It helps provide a well-rounded education. It creates students who think with both hemispheres of their brain, something only musicians can do, and it establishes the next step in 21st century thinking. Being able to mix science, technology, and the arts puts STEAM thinking squarely on the path to take future employees into the 22nd century. By fostering an interest in the concepts as well as the hows and whys of creative problem solving, students are better equipped to deliver the multiple areas of expertise that modern employers and business ventures demand. Please consider making the new Foothill High School a STEAM school. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last public comment is Emiliano Gomez. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
You're not the first. So, to the board, to the superintendent, my name is Emiliano Gomez. I grew up here. I walked here today. And as you know, our days begin where our yesterdays end. So I'll start where my day started. I overslept, which I shouldn't do. I have nightmares when I oversleep. Too long considered, dreams tend toward despair. Of course, we despair because we care. Like I said, I walked here today. I walked here specifically to support the equity policy that I know has riddled and befuddled and confounded its basis in this community. I support this equity policy because my grandfather was a factory hand and my other grandfather was a field hand. And I didn't pay a single penny to go to school because, well, I did all right at school. And I look around and I want more people to do all right at school. When I was in high school, I spent a lot of my time asking for more AP classes, but that doesn't do much, I think, Because what about the kids who, don't have a parent at home telling them, go to school, It's us who will tell those kids go to school. It is Angela, who's a dear friend because we have understood that friendship is a religious experience, that family is a religious experience, that community is a religious experience, that it is more than us, that it fills us so fully that we can't even put it into words. I was passing by, there's the Salvation Army there and the CVS was over there, and this woman was driving much too fast, and she slowed because I was passing through the stop. And I looked at her with a face that, just a tiny little smirk that meant I wasn't judging you for driving too fast. And she looked at me with a face that was too happy to be chagrined. And then she drove on by and I walked on by. And I thought that was a beautiful experience. And so I hope that we can continue to educate our students here, in Marysville.
I'm sorry.
Understanding.
Your 3 minutes are up. Appreciate your input. Thank you. That's the end of our business. Meeting adjourned.
second interim here, and we'll continue to refine that and really get that into the original budget as we are in the midst of developing the 22-23 budget. As budgets, especially in schools and especially during COVID, they're dynamic. They're moving a lot. We're getting a lot of new information, and in regards to the COVID funds, that's a lot of money that's been given to the district. So we're constantly updating those plans. So as I kind of mentioned before, these numbers will kind of move on a pretty regular basis. Okay, so just a general overview of our revenue, and so what we're really reporting is the differences from first interim to second interim, how things have changed. The local control funding formula is up $1.1 million, and at this point we get additional information. So our supplemental concentration unduplicated pupil count is greater than we were anticipating, so that's the reason for that move. Basically went from roughly 77% to roughly 79%. Not a lot of movement on the federal revenue side. The other state revenue is up $6.3 million, and that's increases are really related to the expanded learning opportunities and the educator effectiveness grants. So those numbers have been incorporated into the figures. We get to the expense side of things. So essentially, I'm going to explain some of these things, and I'm going to show you the numbers on the next few slides. The expense side of things, second interim. Salaries and benefits are up $9.3 million. That's not because we hired a bunch of people, but that's because of all the raises that we settled. They're incorporated into the financial statements now. And so we have not incorporated the CSEA numbers, but we hope to as we ratify or as we approve that. We hope to get those in there shortly. Slight increases on the supplies budget. Services up $1.1 million related to COVID expenditures. Other increases. Increased by $1.4 million, and it's really related to our contribution to special education, but that is related to the retros and the salaries. So it's just kind of it's a puzzle, but that's the reason for that increase.
So your other increase of 1.4 million is, you said special education contribution, and you said due to increases?
So as we process the retro payment, it incorporates into special education salaries as well. Also incorporates in those numbers into the SELPA figures, and we get billed back for that. So at the end of the day, it is all basically most of the increase is related to the increase in the retro payments for salaries.
But when they stay in salaries and benefits, are not the part of other increase?
We get that as a bill back, so it's so that's why it shows up in that area.
When you get a chance, I'd like to see that bill back too.
Sure. Okay, so local control funding formula, it is our primary source of funding, our main source of funding. I just kind of point this slide out. We've been in a hold harmless stage, and so we're basically being funded and at 2019-20 average daily attendance rates, and as our enrollment has decreased during this time frame, we expect a lot of districts are seeing kind of a cliff because we're going to get into regular funding, and the regular funding, we do have some protections there. We're funded at current year average daily attendance or prior year, and there may be some changes to that, so I'll talk more about that in a minute. But as you see, the 22-23 funded attendance rate is, projected to be roughly 11,000 students, and we're currently funded at 11,633 students. That's a big drop off. That's a big number. So that's just something that we are taking a look at. But you also look at the dollar amount associated with that actually goes up because that takes into account the increase in per student funding that we're getting. So we're kind of getting pulled in two directions there.
Can I ask a question, Seth?
Yeah.
When we look at, this whole declining enrollment, I've been listening to declining enrollment doom and gloom from the district for 25 years. I know that some parents pull their students out with COVID, but as the whole COVID stuff starts to diminish, isn't there any projection that students will be returning to public school?
So that's a great question. I think about that a lot. I don't know how to project for that, to be honest with you.
But we're projecting that it's gonna continue to decline. I mean, you've got it all the way out to 2025.
Yes.
And my other thing is, everybody was home for a little while. Isn't there any kind of a thought that perhaps there'll be a little bit of a baby boom?
I hear what you're saying is there, that baby boom.
Another 5 years.
Comes 5 years later, or 4 years now, I guess with TK, right? So those are valid, thoughts. However, I will tell you that when we're fiscally projecting, we take a conservative approach, and I really have no idea how to. A lot of people in education think there may have been somewhat of a permanent shift, as far as homeschooling and that type of stuff. I have no idea how to account for that, so I'm basically going on traditional projection enrollment, methods.
Well, and Shelley, just so you know, pre-COVID, we actually were seeing a decline in our enrollment anywhere between 75 to 100 students per year.
We'll just kind of get right to it. This is the slide that kind of shows some of that. So,
okay.
So I will tell you that I am changing our method for projections, and I just want to be transparent in that. It's an industry standard methodology, so this is not this is just kind of how many in the industry, most in the industry do it. But essentially, what we take a look at is a trend of those first graders moving to second grade, right? Did 99% of them move forward? Did 98% of them? Did 101% in a growing district? So that's kind of the methodology. We look at that trend and then we apply it to each grade, and then we kind of, as it comes up with our enrollment projections. Kindergarten is kind of a wild card, so you look at a trend line to see how is that trending up or down. And then we have a new wrinkle, or actually, it's a good thing. We're incorporating TK, so we're expanding TK over the next several years. So we've increased our transitional kindergarten numbers for 2 classes. That's our projection for this year, but we'll see once we get into August how what that starts.
So are they gonna allow you now to count TK in your ADA now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, so it's expanding by 2, I think it's 2 months each year until we get the full year. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because they used to not let you do that.
Exactly. But you see the trend. I hope these are wrong. I mean, I want to see these numbers come back. I hope we get a bounce back. That'd be wonderful. And then we'll adjust the numbers upwards. So COVID funds. This is pretty much the same slide at First Interim. I'm not going to really go over it, but we have several different COVID funding sources. They're restricted. They're temporary. And we're constantly talking about them and updating the plans in regards to COVID funding. I heard Superintendent Osumi say that we're looking pretty good on the finance side. I will say that is accurate if you look at the total picture, but not on the ongoing unrestricted dollars. That's where we're going to have a challenge, and that's where it's going to get probably a little challenging over the next few years.
So do we get the ESSER funds?
We do, absolutely.
I just didn't see them on here, so I was asking.
They're in that CARES Act, they're kind of incorporated.
Oh, you have them incorporated in the CARES Act?
I think that's what it is.
Yes, because I know it's a different acronym. Sorry, you have an accounting person in your audience.
That's right. My backup. Just a graphical picture of our revenues right now. You see the big, kind of red slices are local control funding formula, and the large federal slice at 27% is usually not even close to that large. That is our, basically our ESSER funds is a big portion of that. The expense side of things, the certificated salaries, classified salaries, and benefits are the bulk of our expenditures in education. Everything else in this, for this year, makes up roughly 26%, and usually that percent is even lower, but again, we have a lot of those ESSER funds, so that's why that, everything besides salary and benefits is higher than it normally is in this year. Getting to the general fund, you see revenues and the expenditure breakout. I break it up by unrestricted and restricted, and then I look at the combined number. I circled a couple numbers just to highlight those. The salaries and benefits I just spoke to, that number is significantly different, over a little $9.2 million up, and that's incorporating the salaries, the raises. Capital outlay, we updated those numbers as well. That's again COVID funds. We put in numbers for the shade structures, furniture, and a few other things, but essentially that's what's in that number, and that's the difference. And then you see change in fund balance on the restricted side. That's $35 million. Again, that is the COVID funds dropping that we don't have planned for this year, dropping to the bottom line. We have a couple years to spend those. Ending fund balance. So this is the makeup of our ending fund balance. You look at the restricted resources. We're projected at the end of this year, $42 million. Again, mostly COVID funds. Then we have other allocations in there. We also noticed that we have a projection for the CSEA settlement in there as well. So once that gets ratified, we'll incorporate it into our actual budget numbers. But right now, it's kind of sitting as a reserve in our.
Can I ask why the classified vacation payout is so high?
We currently have on our books more vacation than we should have on there, and so we are going to pay people out that have not used vacation to get them up below the amount our allowed carryover amount. So
once that happens, then they'll move on to a use it or lose it type of.
you don't lose vacation,
lose it.
but this is the deal. We have
County does that.
we have a certain amount that we're per contract and ed code that we can carry over from year to year. So we have to stay below that amount. So we're a lot above that right now. We're going to write that, and then
But that's what I mean, as far as use it or lose it. You can't go over this cap. I mean, this is how much you can carry over.
So we're going to encourage our employees to take vacation when they can, and if they're above that rate every year, you just have to pay out if they're above that allowable carryover amount.
Yeah, so it's like use it or get paid for it.
Yeah.
Not lose it.
Yeah. Don't lose it.
There's more years coming over with that statement. There was a big thing around use or lose it. Yuba County Office still does use it or lose it.
Oh, interesting.
Hopefully we can change that. I'm still on the negotiating.
These are some of our major assumptions. Some of the big changes are our cost of living adjustments, so that's the LCFF. That's not really.
You missed. No.
So the LCFF cost of living adjustment increases our funding, but it's really not giving more money to education. It's just paying for the increases in costs, right? So those numbers are up here. I expect them to go even higher as we get to the May revise. Everybody's noticing the price of the gas pump. We're seeing that everywhere. We're expecting inflation to be more in the 6+ range. So we'll see what that guidance comes out in May, but we're expecting that number to go up, both on the revenue side and then, of course, our expectations for supplies and services. Those numbers are going to go up as well. The other pressure on the budget going forward is CalPERS. As I just kind of demonstrated, most of our budget is in salaries, and these are pretty significant movements on our budget, right? We're going from 22.9% in CalPERS to 26% to 27%. We're down from 16.9% to 19% on the STIRS side. So those are going to be impactful numbers. They're incorporated in our numbers here, but in the multi-year projections, but that is going to be a strain on the district. So our multi-year projections, if you just look at the top line, you see revenue dropping off from $234 million down to $166. Again, one-time COVID money hitting this year, not hitting next year. We have additional supplies and services this year dropping off a little bit. As we build the 22-23 budget, those numbers will definitely change as we develop that budget. One thing that I've changed here or added is that kind of blue row at the bottom. The change in these numbers are really our total budget, unrestricted and restricted. I put the change in unrestricted ending fund budget because that is truly the fiscal health of your district, right? Because all the restricted money we can only spend on certain things. Unrestricted, you can spend on anything. And I just wanted the board to be aware that in this multi-year projection, we have deficit spending going on the next 2 years. But I'll tell you two things that are not in that number that will change as we develop out the 22-23 budget. We do not have, as I showed before, we have reductions in enrollment. Well, if you have reductions in enrollment, typically you right-size your student, your teacher count, you know, for the right number of classes. We haven't put that in at this point. At the second interim, we'll develop that out as, with the original budget when we develop that. So that will reduce the expense side of things. We also don't have in this any numbers for projected raises. So you just have to kind of be aware of that when you look at these numbers. Our other major funds, child development, child nutrition, special reserve. Those are the figures there.
When you look at child development, I mean, is that, can you kind of explain what that category is? Yeah, fund development, what would be, can you give me an example of what would fall into that?
So our state preschool program is our child development fund. Yeah, so that's, you know, really what that is.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
thank you.
Our Belarus Fund 49 received in $5.8 million. Our capital outlay this year was $5.6 million. At the end of the year, we're projecting basically $19 million to be remaining in that fund. And Mark Button basically came in and gave you a pretty good update of all the different things that we've been doing with that money this year. Thoughts looking forward, I have 2 pages and we're almost done here. So, just thoughts looking forward, decline in ADA, talked about it. Pension costs continue to increase, inflation pressures, we're feeling it. And we have you know, a lot of facility needs as we've all talked about there. We absolutely can meet our current and projected obligations in this budget. The last page is just a couple updates on the governor's proposed budget. This is not set in stone. They're doing the negotiating right now. We're going to get new information in May. But some of the main points here is it looks like we're going to trigger the cap on the fund balance, on our fund balance reserves at 10%. So we're going to have that discussion. My initial thought, but again, we'll have this discussion, is that that might be good money to put towards the facilities that we were, you know, kind of prioritizing there. But again,
You got your union members at your hands.
this is one-time money, can't go on salaries. So,
I can find a way to use it one time.
I'm sure you
Not a
do.
problem.
Declining enrollment, so that's just something we're going to have to take a look at and manage. I will tell you that, so the state is looking at declining enrollments hitting all districts right now, especially with COVID. So they are looking at putting an option in there to give some relief to districts, and that is, right now we get the grade of current year ADA or prior year, and they're thinking about putting a third option, which would average the last 3 years. So whatever number is the greatest, we'd be able to use. That's not set in stone, but that's what they're talking about.
They're also talking about basing it on enrollment rather than ADA.
I would love that.
That's another
Average enrollment.
That they are talking about that. I didn't get the impression from my sources that is where the focus right now, but I would love that. It would get rid of a lot of
I would love it too.
Yeah. And then we have expansion of expanded learning opportunities grant. Let's see here. Oh, you know, what's not in the budget? You know, one thing, we were on the fiscal side of things, since we have a pretty big surplus right now, we were hoping that they would infuse some money into CalPERS and CalSTRS, so we don't see those huge increases in CalPERS and CalSTRS rates, because, you know, we have a pretty big influx in the state budget right now. Most people are expecting that those, you know, economy is going to falter a little bit, who knows when, but anyways, that would have been a great little thing, but that wasn't in the governor's proposed budget. We'll see what happens in May. All right, I'm done.
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. No, I just want to say, very, very, very well done. Very, very readable. When I did mine for another district that I used to do it for, I did it similar to this. It was very easy for everyone to understand and read. I have sat in these board meetings, and no fault of Robert. I mean, I don't wanna make it sound like he wasn't good. He was good, but he gave us the sheets, you know, that you work on to do your budget. He would print some of those out and do this enormous spreadsheet, and I would look at the board members that aren't familiar with this, and they were like deer in the headlights, you know, and it was like, they were glassed over just looking at the spreadsheet. What do you mean in category 5100 to 6100 was this much money? And I think it just got so overwhelming for board members, especially the ones that aren't familiar with schools. So I appreciate this because it's just so much easier to read, to understand, and to follow what you are telling us. And I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that. I'll tell you, I'm always looking for feedback on how to make this digestible, but also informative, because there is, I don't know if you see that book we produced, I mean, that's hundreds of pages, right? So
Yes.
how do we take that information and get it to the information you need to make decisions? So I'm always looking for feedback on that.
That's what I used to have to do. That's why I appreciate this. And I don't know about the rest of your board members, but I don't know if you found this easier to read and understand than the others. I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It is.
I make a motion that we approve the second interim.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Russell and second by Ms. Dami to approve the second interim. Roll call, please.
Member Betacavoli?
Yes.
Member Dami?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Tapar?
Yeah.
And President Riley?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Item 12C, CSBA Delegate Assembly Election.
Yes, so I bring this forward, we were notified that there were no nominations, and so we are able to, the board is able to write in a candidate's name, and I do believe there is an interest by one of our board members to be delegate representative.
Yeah, I've been talking to some folks in San Diego about this, and I'd be interested in being the delegate representative for the area.
I nominate you.
I'll second it.
Knock your socks out.
We're all for it.
So, yeah, we have a nomination by Member Dami and a second by Member Takar to nominate Member Rusko to the Delegate Assembly. Laura?
Member Betacavoli? Yes. Member Dami?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Do I abstain or do I say
Yes.
yes?
You
I
abstain.
okay.
Yes, I want to do it.
Member Pretty?
Absolutely.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Tapar?
Yeah.
And President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
12B, E-rate category 2 responses to the RFP.
Can I make a motion? I've actually gone through these pretty thoroughly. Can I make a motion to approve 12D and 12E, because they're both technology related?
I second that.
Okay, we have a second to approve 12D and E by Member Takar and a second by Member Betacavoli.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Are these gonna help us not drop data out of Aries?
No.
No, these will not, but I have,
No.
we have plans for that.
Okay.
It's totally unrelated.
Help for,
It will help security in general.
Yes.
all right.
Are you ready for the roll call? Any additional questions? Do we have a motion?
Yeah.
I have a motion.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Member Betacavoli?
Yes.
Member Dami?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yeah.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Takar?
Yeah.
President Riley?
Yes. 12F, elimination of classified staff due to lack of work or lack of funds.
So Education Code requires approval of the elimination of services that will not be required or have been identified as not being required for the 22-23 school year due to lack of work or lack of funds. The position listed in this resolution have been recommended for elimination due to a lack of work. Human Resources Department also completed a review of this position and concurs with the spec level recommendation.
I just have one question. Is this an elimination of the position or the employee?
So in this case, there is a person in the position, so she will be notified by March 15th due to the fact that the code now requires that her position will not be in place next year. And so we've already begun the conversations with her about other opportunities that are out there that fit and align with her current skill set and with this clerk position. And we've got 5 months to find her something within the district to do if in fact she wants to shift to a different position.
Okay, I was just wondering because it just seems right now that finding really good qualified people in classified and certificated positions is really tough. I'd hate to lose somebody good.
Yep. And when I went and met with the employee, I took a list of 4 open positions that she might be interested in.
Okay.
But staff is also watching for, as we move through the next few months, other things that we might be able to line her up with, because she is a good employee.
All right, thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve 12F?
I make a motion to approve 12F.
I'll second.
Motion by member Downey and a second by member Pretty to approve 12F. Laura?
Member Betticaboli?
Yes.
Member Downey?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Pulte?
Yes.
Member Takar?
Yeah.
And President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
12G, administrator release reassignment.
The education code also provides that the certificated management employees to be notified on or before March 15th of his or her release or reassignment for the upcoming school year. The employee listed in this resolution will receive further information prior to June 30th about available employment options for next school year.
I will make a motion that we approve 12G.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by member Pretty and a second by member Roscoe to approve 12G. Laura?
Member Betticaboli?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Downey?
No.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Pulte?
Yes.
Member Takar?
Yeah.
And President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
12H, release non-reelection of temporary certificated employees.
So the education code provides for the employment of certificated personnel under a temporary or what is called temporary contract for multiple specified reasons. In order to prevent overstaffing, it is prudent to release temporary employees at the conclusion of each school year. Such individuals may apply and or will be offered a temporary position for the following year. Oftentimes, these positions are set up for retired staff that want to come back and serve in limited roles. And in this case, that is exactly what this position is doing. So the person will be released with the understanding that those services are needed again next year. And if he is so inclined, we will have him back next year to continue what he's been doing for us for a number of years.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by member Downey and a second by member Pulte to approve 12G. H. 12H.
So this is the reduction of certificated staff due to the elimination of particular.
No, we just had a motion.
Oh, I thought you voted. Sorry, I thought you were reading it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm on a roll. That's all. Sorry.
Member Betticaboli?
Yes.
Yes.
Member Downey?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Pulte?
Yes.
Member Takar?
Yeah.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
12I, reduction in certificated staff.
This is it now, right?
Yes.
I'm just. So reduction of certificated staff due to the elimination of particular kinds of service is talked about in the Ed Code as well. This resolution designates a specific 0.2 FTE position to be eliminated for the upcoming school year. The position had been created to align or complete partial assignments resulting from approved leaves of absence. So for example, if a teacher had requested a 60% leave of absence, then this position, well actually an 80% leave of absence works better for this one. Then this position would join with it to create a full position. It is best practice that these positions always be temporary in nature. So anytime somebody is on a leave of absence, that position should be filled with temporary employment because the leave of absence is good for 1 year. So the temporary relief or employee coming in to fill that need should be employed for 1 year. Without that, you run the risk of overstaffing.
Yes.
Question, when you talk about like FTEs or 0.8, 0.6, whatever it may be, when would we know or the district know about next year if there's, I mean, do people like,
Yeah,
is there a timeline requirement?
Yeah, we're currently right in that window where we've got staff who are requesting various levels of leaves of absence.
Okay.
So we review those and make decisions about whether or not to approve them based on different factors.
Make a motion, we approve 12I.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve 12I by member Dami, a second by member Pretty. Laura?
Member Better-Cavoli? Yes. Member Dami?
Yes.
Member Orozco?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Pulte?
Yes.
Member Dakar?
Yes.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
12J, authorization of teleconferencing pursuant to AB 361.
Yes, so I bring forward for, I believe the last time, AB 361 for your consideration that the board deems that there continues to be a safety hazard, that there's a need for teleconferencing. This will sunset on March 30th when the executive orders expire. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be needed for the next meeting, but I brought it for your consideration. As you know, we'll be moving towards the ability for those who choose not to mask on the 14th. That includes the board. It still will be strongly recommended, but it will be a personal choice. So, so I don't know if this is necessary, but I did want to bring it forward for you consideration if you'd like to adopt it for one more meeting.
Is there any discussion?
Doreen, when you say teleconference, are you referring to also like the online component? Is that what you're
So that would be the board believes that there still continues to be a safety need to have meetings via Zoom. And you've been meeting in person, so it really has not been necessary.
For us to move into place.
So,
Yes, you to meet Zoom, not the community, but the board.
okay, but with, I guess it's kind of a twofold question. Some of the comments that I've heard from the community is that they really appreciate the fact that there is a Zoom component to our meetings. So if we vote no on this, would the Zoom component go away or?
We'll continue the live stream.
Oh, okay.
So the community will be able to watch the board, and again, so that will not go away.
Gotcha.
That is going to be regular business.
Would the community only be able to watch, or would they be able to participate?
The recommendation is, and I've been working with legal, is that we just live stream the meeting. There is the ability to submit comments by either coming in person, the board is doing minutes, or by written format would be the recommendation.
So not through a Zoom or technology?
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that, how do you make a motion for that? That we authorize it or that we don't?
Do you want to pass it or do you want to not pass it?
I don't want to pass it.
Then you,
So you don't even.
I don't know that,
Because we're under one right now, correct? I mean, we could have still been Zooming now because we prior
Correct, so it's interesting
approved one.
because.
So it's, even if we approve it, it just seems to me like it kind of covers your bases. I mean, if something weird happens,
I agree.
at least we're covered and we can Zoom Whereas if we don't approve it,
Well, recognizing the board is taking action and recognizing
It
that
just allows
the
us more
safety
options.
of, right, your safety and the safety in the community requires you to teleconference. So this is unusual because you've been taking action, but you've been meeting in person.
I don't know, I'll let somebody else.
I think the flexibility is important, so while we still are allowed to have it, I'll take it. I'll make a motion that we authorize teleconference pursuant to AB 361.
I'll second that.
Due to safety concerns.
We have a motion by member Roscoe and a second by member Pretty. Roll call, Laura.
Member Bedegaoli?
No.
Member Domi?
No.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes?
Member Quilty?
No.
Member Takar?
I'll go with yes, just to have the option.
President Riley?
Yes.
You have that right.
I mean, we're not gonna do
Right,
it. but
I'm
it's
just
good to
saying, you
the
have that
option.
right. You get to choose that. Why
It's
do you
good as
vote?
option, I agree, good as option.
Yeah. Next item of business, board reports and information. Do we have any committee reports?
We already talked about the government.
You did. I don't have a committee report, but I do have a comment. Right, Dan?
Well, you want to wait until it's time for the board comments from board
That's
members?
later.
Oh, that's later, I'm sorry,
Okay.
my mistake.
Written communications from the public, Jasmine, we already covered that? Or do
Yes.
we have additional?
No, there's nothing else.
Well, let's see. Who wants to go first? Okay, CSEA, thank you.
Oh, I guess I'll go first. Well, so, I have been in the para conference all day, and so I'm wearing my para shirt. I was so excited to go to para conference in San Diego, but however, I am enjoying my dining room once again. So maybe next year we'll get somewhere else, but, what a invigorating time when you're training, even when you're at home on Zoom. This morning I listened to a speaker on student engagement, Eric Holmes, and I think maybe, is he coming here? Does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
He's amazing. I'm in the middle of a second seminar from him, but I just didn't have time to watch it all. Very good, and he said that he was coming to Yuba City, and of course you don't totally listen. I mean, you listen, but all of a sudden you hear Yuba City, and you're like, wait a minute, what'd you just say about Yuba City? So he did say he's gonna meet up here, so I figured maybe it was Friday. A lot of great trainings, as we've talked about. I got notes all over here. Math. Paras in the classroom would make such a difference. I know I am a special ed para, as you know, and I work in a lot of math classrooms, right? And I'm not only supporting special education students, but I support any student that needs help. And there's some of those classes I need roller skates in. So I can't even imagine, especially some of the intervention type classes, the intro classes, not having a second adult in there to help those kids. Teachers are trying to teach, the kids are, having their questions. So that might be a really good investment in some of this extra money, is to add additional pairs. And I know that's not so easy, just, we could say it, but where are they? But I would really encourage that you look for that. I think that will help to make a difference in some of those gaps, or lost opportunities, they're not gaps. You talked about the ADA and the shift on CSEA, who, as you know, has been very successful about passing legislation that's meaningful, has supported a bill that they've got somebody to carry it across now from January to bring ADM, which is the average daily membership, which basically is your annual funding or your average of everyone throughout the year, as opposed to who's in that seat, because that tends to hurt the kids that need it the most, right? I mean, the kids that are out are our kids that are intervention, then we don't get money and then we can't serve them. So there's that. He's left already. Rob Hogue has been working really hard to compile all of our summer assistance applications, and we appreciate that the board has once again authorized that for our workers, our employees that work less than 12 months a year, to have a little extra savings, and it's been really great. And I think, do you remember what the number was up to, Mike? Almost
300,000 in commitment?
Yeah, that's the dollar amount, and I'm not pulling up the number of people involved.
So close to $300,000 in commitment from the classified employees, and that's not easy. That really is not easy. I know that I manipulate things to make that happen, but looking at 88 cents on the dollar makes me want to make that happen, and so that's really a great program that we have. I think I am going to leave it at that because I have 2 more days of training there. Oh, yes, next board meeting, I hope that you will have our ratified agreement for you to pass. We appreciate that. We're in the process.
Yes.
Good evening, board members and members of the public, anybody out there in Zoom. Dean Likens, President of Yuba City Teachers Association. A couple things I'd like to address with you tonight, and I appreciate the tech investment with regards to data loss in Aries. Wow, the timing of that loss was pretty significant. Last Friday was the end of the K-5 report card window. Those who haven't seen a K-5 report card, it's an overwhelming amount of data delivered to parents. 39 different data points, standards-based report cards for students, and your K-5 teachers enter all that data. Then they spend all this time on comments. So many of them had started that weekend. It was also the end of the 6-week grading period at the middle school level, the end of the 6-week grading period at the high school. So that data loss actually highlights the tremendous amount of work your teaching staff is doing over the weekend. Because the data loss was from 3:30 Friday till about 10 a.m. Monday morning, and there were almost 700,000 data points entered over that weekend. We all know that teachers work a lot of hours outside the typical, hey, you get off at 3. They don't really. So that data loss was pretty devastating to some of our folks. Lots of tears, lots of like, oh my gosh, what just happened? So some trauma there. But I do appreciate the work of the IT department, personnel, and the superintendent in helping us to address that considerable amount of anguish on the part of employees. We've worked together to come up with some solutions. The IT department was able to give our K-5 teachers PDF versions of their report cards. So working together, we were able to support teachers to do the work to recover that lost data. So thank you to those folks who were involved. Particularly, I'd like to thank James Lohman, and I'd like to highlight James Lohman just for the simple fact that James Lohman is leaving us from Marysville. It is our loss, but it is it's kind of a perfect place for James. There are those folks that when James moved up to the district office, it's like, look, it's just a music teacher. And to that I say, you are never just a music teacher, number one, but James was so much more than that. He really jumped into the job. He was truly an advocate for students, an advocate for high quality instruction, and a support system for teachers and other educators working directly with our students. In particular, I can point to the work he did to really understand next generation science standards. I worked with him as he wanted to launch that. We've got to put more time into our K-5 classrooms for science, which as a longtime science teacher, I'm like, yay, we need science at the elementary level. We need to capitalize on that curiosity and that enthusiasm of our young students. So that to me highlights the example of James went way beyond, he was just a music teacher. And then moved into the IT department where he further supported our efforts to work with our students. So I just want to use this moment to say thank you to James. I wish him the very best. It is the perfect position over there, former Marysville's Charter for the Arts. So our loss is Marysville's true gain, and the good news for the students over there. And then I'd like to address, as we look at student success, there are various ways in which our students struggle. Tonight, we've identified one of those areas with regards to math, and it isn't just math A to G. I mean, what really changed about A to G is we're now measured on, is every kid prepared to go to a 4-year college? We know that most of our kids don't necessarily go to a 4-year college following high school, but we do want to prepare them for as many options as possible. But that means getting kids through IM1, IM2, and IM3. We weren't asked to do that in the past, so that's a big new challenge in front of us. Math instruction has has always been a challenge and continues to be one. And it's a challenge at all grade levels. So I encourage us to continue to engage in the dialogue and the creative thinking and the problem solving to help us address student struggles in math, because they don't begin in high school, they don't begin in middle school, they begin earlier than that. And they begin with developing understanding so that math makes sense, and it makes sense as we move on and progress. So I look forward to the work in math. For those of you that don't know, I have a math credential and also worked with college preparatory math many years ago to help author an algebra textbook a long time ago. So it is one of my second loves after chemistry, of course. So I look forward to the future work we will do on math. I also look forward to another area for student success. I encourage this board to revive the idea of the 8-9 alternative school setting. We know that we have students in 7th grade who we can predict what it's going to look like in 8th grade, that they're not going to be successful. But we keep doing the same thing we've done for the last 7 years. We need to do something different for that kid. We need to prepare that kid for success. We need to give that kid the opportunity to get some quick, intensive intervention and prepare that student for success in high school before we wait until they're 16 and go out of college. So we need an 8-9 alternative school setting, and I hope we will make that a high priority in the years to come. And then finally, I'd like to let the board know, Mercedes address what might come to you at the next board meeting. I anticipate that YCTA will likely bring to you a sunshine for the 23-24 negotiations, so that Scott can better prepare the budget and begin to negotiate salary increases and other areas that we might negotiate as you prepare the budget in the years to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dina. Do you have any comments from board members?
I know that PD is coming up on Friday, and so the only comment that I have is if I could get the information for that, I'd definitely love to swing by.
There was a request.
At River Valley High School, 8 to 3.
Okay.
So you're welcome to pop in and check it out.
Is it River Valley from 8 to 3?
Yes.
Is there like a schedule or anything that you can pass along?
There's, you mean like of the day? 8 to 11 will be a morning session, and then the afternoon session would be noon to 3, 11 to 12 is lunch.
So do you mean the list of courses, or is that what
Or,
you're?
yeah.
It's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll send that out
It's
tomorrow.
an online catalog.
Yeah, so we'll get that out too.
Thank you.
I'd like to see that too.
We'll send it to the Cohort.
Do you have comments from other board members?
I do. I had the pleasure of, my grandson, we had our grandsons this weekend, and he has a close friend that's in Drama 1. So I had the opportunity of watching their performance on Saturday night, and I have to say they did a great job. It's a small class, because it's, Drama 1 is small. Well, I think most of the drama classes are, but when they did their performance, I thought all the kids did a great job. It was kind of interesting to be back in the cafeteria again after so many years, seeing the changes. And, I kept asking when we talked about the safety of the school and blocking in that back parking lot. And I kept thinking, there is a fence there already. What do you mean open the fence? Well, I didn't realize we had a fence right outside the cafeteria. I do now because I just walked through it. But it was a great time, and I just encourage you, if you get an opportunity to go and see any of those performances at the high school, they do a good job. I thought Drama 1 did a good job. Interesting subject, but it was fun to see. That's all. I just wanted to give a little kudos to the kids in the drama club.
Is there any other comment?
Just a motion to adjourn, but.
Well, just a minute, we have superintendent's report, and I'd like to tell everybody that Susan Scott, who's a former board member in Marysville, she's in the hospital. She's back out. Yeah, she's dehydrated, and she's doing well. Those of you who didn't know Susan, she had a major stroke 2 years ago, but she's bouncing back.
She is, okay.
Yeah, she called me back, so.
She's getting back. I'm glad to hear she's doing better.
Yeah. Superintendent?
Yes, so you, the orange map that you adopted at the last board meeting will be going to the county committee tomorrow at the Center County Superintendent of Schools office at 5 o'clock. And President Riley and myself will be attending that meeting, raising questions.
Now, Mr. Lesko.
I didn't put that on my calendar, but I make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Member Roscoe and a second from Member City. Laura?
Member Betticaboli?
Yes.
Member Donnie?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yeah.
Member Pretty?
Yes, please.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Tapar?
Yes.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank
The
you.
next meeting is March 22nd. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ted Langdell, Bob Harlan here. He is my guest on the new show that we have coming up here on Wednesday. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and that is Yuba-Sutter.Live's new show called Lunch with Langdell. So we're going to be down here at the Yuba-Sutter United Way on 4th Street in Marysville, talking to Bob about a variety of things. We'll get the inside scoop. That's this coming Wednesday, right here on Yuba-Sutter.Live. And so Bob's going to tell us a bit more about some of the neat things that the Yuba-Sutter-Colusa United Way has been up to. In fact, I think I heard $400,000.
Yeah, just about.
Don't tell anybody what it is that you did
It's
yet.
something we do on a regular basis.
Okay, so this is cool, and we're going to be right down here. So please join us on Wednesday.
Yuba-Sutter.Live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.